All right, where arts and adventure summits the airwaves, this is the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. I'm R. Brandon Long, along with Todd Oberndorfer, and we are your hosts for the greatest podcast in all the land. John's got his head down. John Wojciechowski, the band is back together. What is going on? John is on a podcast with Brandon and Todd. Welcome back, John.
Thank you. We're like on the Kiss farewell tour that'll last 40 years.
This is it, though. Like, this is the farewell. This is the farewell.
It's going to take 40 years to say goodbye.
And then next year's the farewell.
Also in
None of us are
studio-
going to live 40 more years. That's the
What? I take offense to that.
40 more years?
40 more years, I'm going to be dead and gone. And
No way.
Yeah, if we're taking bets, yes, I would probably put you first. I probably would.
You guys will be here like in 20 years telling the bear story about, John getting eaten, and there's this, little scats with piece of John.
It's because when you were like 85, you picked up another sport. Just something.
That's
random.
probably what it would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's healthy now, and the way we're going.
It'll be activity-related death, probably.
Yeah, most likely.
I tell people, just to jump into the cycling thing right now, the way I will die is getting hit on Skyline Drive in the Ogden neighborhood over there by Shadow Valley. And
Which is that 25 miles an hour?
It's 25, but sometimes the driver, specifically in Subarus with the coexist sticker, can be a little homicidal.
Specific, very specific.
Yeah.
Are you guys aiming for the bicycles?
I think so. Yeah, they buy the Subarus from Young Subaru, and then they put the coexist sticker as a decoy, thinking, "Oh, well, this
It's a decoy.
yeah."
It's because all those stickers, they cover all the view. So you
That's true.
save the planet stickers and they can't see the bicycle.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I put the coexist sticker right in my line of sight.
Wow. Okay. With that note, James, welcome to the program here. We have executive director. Is that correct?
Executive director, that's
Okay.
right. Onstage Ogden, yeah.
Onstage Ogden, James Fredrick. He did say two last names for his last name.
Two
James
first
Fredrick.
names.
That's right. Two first names for his last name. And also aspiring gravel bike champion. So we will get to that as well. James, first of all, welcome to
Did you
Ogden.
describe me as like podcast champion? I think you're just throwing champion out there.
I might as well. I think we're all champions in
what we do?
In what we do here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, if there's a competition,
You're a champion. I'm a champion.
Yeah.
Everyone gets to be a champion.
if I'm the Oprah of podcasting, everyone here is a champion. So, which I am obviously not. James has been in Utah, been in Ogden for 13 months, I think, is what you said.
Yeah, we got here last November.
Okay.
Yeah.
First impressions of Ogden.
Super digging it. It's funny, my first impression of Ogden, was actually a van session, believe it or not.
What?
My interview when I was here was the first week of August. And so I'm interviewing the town as much as I'm being interviewed, right? And so my last night here was the first Friday, and I just had my time to kind of run up and down. Wayne Coyne was out there doing the art stuff. There was a van session.
That was a
going.
weekend there. Yeah.
It was kind of bizarrely awesome, and there was a sold out Twilight that night, and I was walking down 24th, and as I passed by a building, they unveiled a mural with confetti on the side of the parking garage, all on the same. And I'm just wow.
Yeah.
Ogden, yeah.
That's usually
come get some, yeah.
like a random Tuesday here, but I'm glad you were able to witness that.
Yeah, no, it was the perfect perfect Friday night out for me. First week in Ogden.
That would have been
I
a
should
good
come back.
recruitment night. Yeah.
Here I
try
am.
to get you officially into town. Let's line up a mural opening. Let's do van sessions. Let's get a Twilight going. And then did you find some good food?
Totally, yeah. I went to where did I go? Rooster. Yeah, a couple places on 25th. Yeah.
Well, we didn't plan any of that really for you specifically, but
Don't
that
tell
was
him
a
that.
good. I know.
Don't tell him that.
You stay long enough, though, you'll see the remember the only in Ogden guy. What was his name? We interviewed him one time, but he started it because
Brian.
Brian.
That was a long time ago. Yep.
Brian J. Smith. Yeah, only in Ogden and
Joseph.
Yeah, as in the Joseph Smith,
Yeah.
not the Joseph Smith, but the Joseph Smith. But you stay here long enough, you'll start seeing Ogdenites, loading cows into Priuses, and then you'll have the epiphany to start the only in Ogden. So anyway, keep your lookout for that.
Welcome back to the program, John Wojciechowski.
Yes.
I love it.
We're going to go on tangents for the next 9.5 hours.
So James was in Alaska, and you were what's your job? I guess you should.
While in Alaska?
Yeah.
Working for organizations comparable to, super similar to Onstage Ogden. There as the community engagement director, which is like in charge of like the fundraising, getting artists outside of schools and outside of the concerts and like into schools and community work like that. And then got to be involved in like lots of different aspects of the organization that like led me to being like, you know, the right background to be an executive director someplace else. So.
Was there like a LinkedIn call? How did you see that Onstage Ogden needed help here?
So I tried to be involved, and I've had, you know, the benefit of being involved with a lot of our regional and national organizations that kind of like represent what we do. And I was frequenting one of their job postings, the Western Arts Alliance. They do this work like all over the West. And I saw Onstage Ogden, and my wife and I knew we wanted to stick in the Mountain West. We knew we wanted to be like someplace like near an airport where we can get around pretty quick, and the kind of organization, you know, like it's not we don't own a venue, right? We could just get to focus like solely on the performances. So like all of those three things lined up with Onstage Ogden. So like threw my hat in the ring.
So when you were doing your research on Ogden, because I have no doubt that you did, where'd you go? What'd you find out about before you came? And was it blowing smoke, or was it, what was the impression?
No, that's super interesting.
Because when I'll visit a place, sometimes it matches up pretty true, and sometimes I'm like, you wrote that. Like somebody from the city wrote that, and yeah.
No, it's funny. I probably did like 3 websites in this order. One, it was the Onstage Ogden website. See what's going on there, right?
Probably a good place to start.
Good place to start. You're applying for the job. Like the second website would have been Trail Forks, which is where you check out the mountain bike trails. Oh, so just immediately, it's like, I know Utah's got good mountain biking. Does this place? Check that out. And then this website called Wikipedia. If you guys have checked that out.
We know Wikipedia well. That's our research source.
Yeah,
everything.
Yep. Well, that's something I took for granted for a long time and never thought about is the Salt Lake International Airport, because long story, but my vehicle was being repaired in Idaho, like an hour away from Yellowstone, which
like how long is this story?
4 hours from here. Like I'm almost done.
Okay, good.
And the mechanic said, I've got to catch a flight and I got to drive. So wait, so you got to drive 4-5 hours because you got to go to catch a flight out of the Salt, because there's airports in Idaho, but not big enough that they would fly. So Salt Lake International, I'm like, oh yeah, I thought an hour drive was rough like that. Could you imagine driving 4 or 5 hours? So I respect, because I wouldn't have even thought of that before, like last year, that you got to be, it pays to live close to an airport if you like to go places.
Yep. Especially like coming from someplace like Anchorage, right, where you're just kind of like out there on an island, right? Like great airport, but like connecting through Seattle for everything.
For everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. And Seattle's nice. But,
Seattle's great, yeah.
Okay, so Onstage Ogden, you started about 13 months ago then, I'm assuming.
Yeah, like first week, November. It was interesting to come in. The whole concert world, right, is just like in this super weird spot, especially last year. Thinking like November 2021, it's kind of reemerging. Audiences are kind of coming back. Some concerts are masking. Some concerts are canceling. Some concerts are like halfway through. So it's like super interesting time to come down here and start to change things up. Just in terms of like how it was going to evolve out of that, right? I would say like last year we kind of had a little bit of an abridged season. Like it wasn't a full slate of programming. I think we were doing like 70% capacity for audiences, and really we're getting back to it now. Like we were having like less capacity than that anyways, just because like people weren't really like necessarily like ready to be back in those enclosed spaces yet. But we're seeing a lot of improvement on that now.
So it was interesting you mentioned you don't have a venue to worry about.
Yeah.
So that takes some weight off your shoulders. So what do you focus on as far as the performance goes?
Well, it takes weight off our shoulders. It also like lends some creativity to it too, because we're not just like tied to one place. Like historically, we're at Weber State, the Val Browning Center over there. It's a great facility. We love working with them. The 1,400 seat auditorium over there. Like if we're bringing something like the Symphony, if we're bringing something like Ballet West up to come do the Nutcracker, it's going to be over there, right? We're also been working really well with Peary's Egyptian Theater with the county. super interesting venue. Like walk in the lobby, it's just bonkers the first time you see it. It's great. And then we've also been doing some stuff here at the Monarch. When we're here, we're trying to get like between like 150, 300 people upstairs to see something like a little different, a little outside of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm sick of hearing about the Monarch. Let's talk about the. I'll talk about the Egyptian a little bit more. Okay, so when you first saw the Egyptian, Piers Egyptian, what was your reaction to that? Because that is a unique theater that is, I mean, that's probably one of our most historic buildings in town.
Yeah, it's great.
Give me that first impression when you walked in those doors.
Especially because the first time I saw it, I think I kind of got to walk into it just like two of us, right? Because I was there for like a tour, right? Walk in and, I mean, I'd never seen anything like it, right? Never seen anything anywhere like that. Super ornate, just so totally different. And then favorite part of it is, I think when I saw it, they had just done a huge lighting revamp, put a ton of money into it, and like a really solid investment. That the dome above the audience, right? And that can like it'd be like a beautiful night sky or whatever they want it to become. And then
and somewhat new seats. I think the seats were replaced somewhat recently.
They just did the seats, yeah, and like great acoustics in there. It's a really cool. All the facilities we get to work on are very cool, and that's certainly it's like a gem for Ogden. It's a super interesting.
Kind of to continue that thought, and I'll let you jump in just a second. When you are checking out spaces, right? So when you're getting to know a community. And you're obviously looking for, you're also scouting locations, right? Like, where can I set up a trio or, because there are some spontaneous performances. Well, I say loosely spontaneous. They're not, they're different scale.
Sure, yeah.
You do different scale. Do you find yourself sort of looking at those spaces a little differently?
I would certainly, just like in general, being in this business, kind of like ruins going to concerts for you in a certain way, right? Like whether you're like looking at the space, like, could crowd traffic be better over here? Or like, is the concessions okay? Or just in general, like, would I book this band? It's like a good problem to have.
No, it's the good and the bad.
It's a fun problem to have.
I'm looking behind the curtain. Did you have something you were going to say?
Yeah, what is it? I'm curious, just a business idea. I don't know if it happens so much anymore, but I remember back like Eric Jaime or Scott Jaime had a movie premiere there.
Scott, yeah.
Yeah. What does it cost to book that place these days? A few $1,000s, couple $100s, or what? Thousands?
It's on the county. They have different roles for like different, like whether you're a commercial person, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're an individual coming in there, whether it's free or whether it's ticketed. So it's kind of all over the place. Honestly, I'd say for like what you get, like any of the venues we get to work with are fairly affordable, especially when they're working with somebody that's like nonprofit, community minded, and like trying to make cool things happen in the community. We have like really good luck working with all of our venues.
That's a very ED answer.
But
we got another politician here.
that's a good answer. I like that.
It is a good answer. Yeah, I would have said say $800, man.
Okay, so you're at 13 months. I just started a new job. I'm about 3.5 months, something like that into it, and so I'm still learning the ropes. Probably for I'll be honest, probably another 6 months or so. And so, at 13 months, you got the job down pat for the most part.
Oof.
Right? I mean, you've seen a year. You've seen an unusual year, maybe, but you've still seen a year, and so. You're probably getting to the point where you're starting to think a little bit more about possibilities, right? So they brought you in for the different perspectives that you might have.
Sure.
And so have the gears started to turn? You got anything secret that you can reveal for us today?
Do I have anything secret?
Any ideas? Anything that would just be off the charts?
Is Andrew laughing up there?
Well, no, it's only that like the decisions you make take so long to have any effect, right? So like this season. So that when I say the season, like our 2022, 2023 fall and spring season, right? So I probably got to book, a third of it. Another chunk of it was stuff that's like rescheduled still from COVID. And then another chunk of it is stuff, basically the Utah Symphony says like, hey, this is when we're available to come to Ogden. Like we take them when we can get them, right? It's like this thing you put out in the world and you really don't know the results for like another... honestly, like 18 months.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Right, just in terms of like when the cycle happens. So like every concert, every concert, you're like, oh, little feedback. It's like, oh, the community's responding to this, or the community's not responding as much to this. So you kind of like need to hold your trajectory if you feel good about like what we're doing. Like for example, we've got concerts coming up in the next couple weeks. We got one Saturday night, Mariachi Herencia de Mexico. It's a mariachi group. It'll be at Peary's Saturday night, and we knew going into it, like that's we wanted to start attracting those kind of audiences to Peary's more often, and so like what does that look like for the next 2 to 3 years? So whether this Saturday was going to work out or not, we're already looking at like what that looks like 2 to 3 years out, in that like we want to continue that trajectory. That's like a totally roundabout answer.
No,
answer
but that's
to your
the
question,
sexy side of planning ahead 18 months.
Yeah.
No, true that.
Do you have a timeline? Are you going to be here to see the fruits of your labor?
Well, I'm missing the concert this Saturday.
No, I mean like 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Like, do you have a timeline in your head? Like, how long you plan to be in the current position? Is this like a long haul thing? So
This is
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah.
Oof, man, we're just like the life question.
Yeah. Life questions.
We see ourselves here in the next 5 years. Like we bought a house downtown. We wanted to be close to everything that's going on down here. My wife got super lucky that my wife got an awesome job when she came in. She's working over at Parker Hannafin. We're digging in for the long term. I am bummed I'm going to miss this weekend's concert, as tomorrow morning I fly to New York for our annual booking conference, where like everybody from like all around the country goes out there, and like it's an arduous week of meeting all day and seeing shows all night.
Room full of bookies.
Yeah, well,
All right, different bookies.
different bookies. Yeah.
Well, that should be a fun trip.
No, it's a super fun trip. It's like super tiring. You like your meetings all day, and then you see shows all night, and like I'm like, oh. Talk to my wife Nicole. I'm like, Nicole, I'm so tired. She's like, I have no sympathy. Zero sympathy for this. Yeah, it sounds super fun.
So when you tell people you're the executive director for Onstage Ogden, and they say, well, what's Onstage Ogden? What's your answer?
Okay. Oftentimes, if somebody's asking me that from in Ogden, they're going to know our organization as having been called the Ogden Symphony and Ballet Association. That was our name up until like mid 2019.
Yeah.
So 1949, organization starts to bring the Utah Symphony.
1949.
1949.
That's
Yeah,
a long time.
1949, founded to bring the Utah Symphony. Solely to bring the Utah Symphony up the road to Ogden, right? Which is a super unique relationship around the country. Like I've not seen another relationship like this around the country, where like a world-class symphony like that is like coming regularly to a community of this size. Like it's an awesome asset.
And it's a nonprofit, so it was formed through a nonprofit to bring the symphony up to Ogden.
Yep. Yeah. It was a couple super motivated women back in the day that said like our community deserves to have this up here, and we're going to figure out how to make it happen.
Founded by women, of course.
Super motivated women.
Super
That's
motivated.
virtually
Super
everything.
motivated, yeah.
I think we could make a short list of things that were created by men. It's very short. It's probably like.
Well, we just had on Michelle and Reba. Michelle started OFOM,
That's a
and I
good
mean,
example,
it's like, yeah,
no, it's
same
true.
thing. So
It's true.
continue, yes.
Yeah, and really the symphony had only been around, I think, like 4 years prior to that. So like just only a few years after them being founded, it's like, okay, they have to come to Ogden. It goes on for a few decades. We add at some point Ballet West comes into the fold. The Salt Lake Ballet Company. About 10 years ago, they started adding some like touring pieces, and really there was a pivot about 2 or 3 years ago to really increase what that like touring artist footprint looks like here in terms of like the artists we're bringing from out of state more regularly. And I'm coming from an organization that did that solely. Like we had a local symphony. We weren't necessarily bringing a symphony separately. I'm coming from an organization that did a lot of the national touring stuff. So I the trajectory was already there pre-COVID, but because of that kind of pause, suddenly we have like a lot more national acts looking at this season and certainly in seasons beyond.
Well, if you haven't realized this yet, the trailer is has 2 EDs in here right now, right?
Oh, you're right.
It's true. Yeah.
Is your position executive director, or what do you call it?
President, but
President.
it could be ED, just the
ED.
same.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I just
Supreme ruler.
There it is.
Supreme ruler. Yeah.
Just get more creative. There it is. Yeah.
Supreme ruler. So I mean, they could probably like use language that you and I, Todd, might not understand.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
I speak ED.
Yeah. Okay.
President like language all the time.
That's part of your job, probably.
Dude, arts admin, man. Come on.
Yeah, arts admin.
Yeah.
All right, James, close us out. What do you want to see? The organization do over the next 5-10 years while you're in charge? Where do you want to take it?
Wow. It's again, big question. You're like,
You're like off a cliff. That's it. That's
Off a cliff.
preferably not that.
blaze of glory.
No, I'll say this: like we got like an awesome staff, an awesome group of people working there. We got an awesome board of directors that really, it's being valuable to the community. And then, like, how can we increase that over the coming years? And how's that diversifying our programming to be more valuable in the community and like being more accessible, like mattering more to more people in the community, and just like what does that look like in our concert programming? So I think whether that means like increasing our marketing or increasing our relevance, I think you're going to see both over the coming years. And certainly you'll see us. We're trying to be regulars at the Monarch and at Peary's, and at some point we're talking about the amphitheater, and to a lesser extent Snow Basin. Perhaps we do a show up there at least once a year. And just being like more visible, more relevant, and just being in front of more folks and serving like live performance to more folks.
Would Ogden support the Nutcracker in July, you think?
No.
Is there a summer version of the Nutcracker?
Maybe. Isn't
They're
there?
wearing
I mean, you
shorts.
could think of like Swan Lake or any one of the
Characters
other.
are wearing shorts and flip flops.
They certainly, I will say, they certainly support it on Thanksgiving weekend. Ogden came out.
That's why I brought
Ogden
it up.
came
We
out
went-
massive for it.
Yeah, it was. They did come out massive.
We had 5,000 people come through Weber State Thanksgiving weekend for
It was
Valley
probably
West
because my
Nutcracker.
daughter was in it.
Absolutely,
Just saying,
yeah.
She was a soldier. And
Yep.
So,
So one last question for you: who is your favorite staff member? Who's your favorite board member? There's no right answer.
no
There's no wrong
doubt.
answer.
Are no doubt, I would say, my esteemed colleague Andrew,
Not because he's
who is the
listening
live
right now.
studio audience this evening.
oh God, that's funny.
Did you ever see the bus in Alaska? I'm looking at the Into the Wild book.
No, it's
They
there's-
moved.
They hauled it out.
I heard they hauled it out.
There's a whole there's a whole vibe around that up there, and like how people feel about that whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a don't talk about it thing. Though there's a very cool brewery for the United States that has like a recreated like little like Instagram trap with a fake bus, right? That you can go and do your own thing with it.
Yeah, people have died trying to go see the
Yeah,
bus. And It's
yeah.
probably not the best.
Yeah.
Did you have a list of events coming up, or did you mention them all that you're?
Oh, we've got a couple coming up. So yeah, Mariachi Herencia de Mexico at Peary's. That's this coming Saturday, depending on when the podcast goes out here. A super epic concert with the Utah Symphony. Carmina Burana is like this. You might not know the title, but you know the piece. It's one of the first movements. It's called O Fortuna. It's like it's in like hamburger commercials as like the epic sound.
Yeah.
Weird Instagram reels. Like it's super popular right now. But everybody's like, oh, that's O Fortuna. So that'll be over at Weber State coming up.
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne used to begin his
Yep.
concerts with it.
Oh, for real?
Yep.
For real. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
It's like it's one of the grandest pieces of classical music you can possibly hear, and they're gonna have a huge. Hundreds of chorus members on stage with them. It's kind of like a face melting classical music night. It'll be very cool.
And now it's a famous Instagram reel back song.
It really is. It's so. I saw one the other night. It was
Just like it was intended.
just like it was originally. The other night I saw one. It was a dog getting its nails clipped to
God.
O Fortuna. It was like how much further can this go?
Oh, just wait.
Yeah.
Oh, just wait.
James, do you sit there and run the Instagram account for Onstage Ogden? Like,
No.
what do you do?
We've got a Camille and Avery, our awesome communications department over there, and do a good job with that. They don't want me. They don't want me with my fingers on that. No way.
I think so. Did you announce Nutcracker last year? Not 2022, but 2021 in the fall?
So I mean, we do have a traditional relationship with Ballet West, so they're just kind of here.
Yeah, but you, like personally, were you on stage last year?
Was I on stage last? Oh yeah, I would have been. Yep.
Yeah, because that was my first impression of you. Because you got up there, because I think you'd been here like a week.
Yeah. Like
What's
2
your
weeks,
impression?
yeah.
Pretend he's not right here beside us.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, I'm honest. Because it was brand new executive director, and he got up there and he didn't have notes. And he's like, all right, here's what's going on. And he like lists all these things. I'm like, that dude can either memorize fast or he is the best bullshitter I've seen. So
Yes.
yes.
You are right, sir.
Yeah. But I was impressed because you knew your stuff already. Like, it was really fast, and you were naming. I think you were going through like sponsors and stuff, and like didn't use the cell phone.
You
didn't
listed
use
every cast member
That's right.
by name and
Absolutely.
character.
Yeah,
I whistled a few of the tunes.
Very
Great.
impressive.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive.
Yeah. So that was my first impression.
No, I mean, appreciate that. Thank you. I'd had the opportunity to do like a few of those in the past, and like, that's one of those things where you either think it's a perk of the job or a punishment of the job, and like, it's fun enough to
Announcing
do for me,
what's going on,
Yeah.
what's coming up, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
In front of a lot of people, and not shy. Just came right out, and I knew you were new to Ogden, and came right out on stage and just let it out. And I was like, okay, good pick on stage, good pick. Yeah.
I'm also really good with Excel sheets. For when that's where Andrew's like, oh God, is he? Oh my God, yeah.
Tell me more about Excel sheets.
On that transition.
The whole Microsoft suite or just Excel?
I'm a Google man myself at this point. Yeah.
John, welcome back to the studio. It feels really good that it feels like we're whole again. You're here. Tell me about this whole gravel bike thing. Like, you're actually, there's races that are meant. What is a gravel bike, and how is it different from a mountain bike and a road bike, and why are the races significant? That kind of thing.
Well, first off, when it comes to John and riding bikes in general, I'm a sporting guy. Like, I do it maybe for fitness. I had my knee replaced, and so I had to do something. And so I went and bought a gravel bike because as a runner on the Shoreline Trail in Ogden, I would always publicly and privately just always scorn the mountain bikers. And it's like, man, this trail's for me and my friends, and you guys are, making me move. But no, they're great. So anyway, point is that I don't know a ton about cycling. I thought I could do gravel because I enjoy the mountains, but I don't really know how to ride technical stuff. So I'll just buy a road bike with fatter tires, and I'll just ride up and down like Farmington Canyon. And that's what I started off doing. And then the story I told you guys before we got started is that, between Strider's, my old running shop, and Zach Chaitlin's Biker's Edge, there is some friendly rivalry about who's actually the better athlete, cyclist or runners. And his thought was running is for criminals, and my thought was, well, anybody can ride a bike. I mean, look at all the the non-marathon looking bike riders. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to grab a bike. I'm going to find a race with a lot of climbing and go try it. And I went to Beaver to do the Crusher and the Tusher, and I was embarrassed with how hard that was and how much walking and actual running I had to do with my bike next to me. I mean, it was like I took my bike for a walk, so it's hard. So
Was that your first race?
It was, yeah.
Oh my God.
It was, yeah.
It's like nationally known as one of the toughest races
Oh, wow.
in the United States.
Well, and John, you ran ultra races, so you ran races that are 100 miles in length, 50 miles in length, and so you're used to in the endurance sport. So what was it about the Crusher that crushed you?
Well, I just got off of Hard Rock, right? Well, I finished Hard Rock in 2013, and you saw me burn out at 2016. And so in 2017, I wanted to do like a Hard Rock-esque type of event, and something I didn't have to go run or train a lot for. Or all I had to do was just go buy a bike. And that's what I thought. That's all I had to do. I mean, I'm a hard rock.
That's literally all you have to do, right?
Yeah. I did Hard Rock. I can do the Crusher and the Tusher.
So what's Hard Rock?
Hard Rock is a 100-mile mountain race in Silverton, Colorado. It's either run clockwise
on your feet.
On your feet. You could do it on your hands, but I would recommend on your feet. But yeah,
But the elevation at Hard Rock is
it's like 29,000 feet. Yeah,
29.
29. It's like running from sea level to the top of Everest.
Oh, that's the vert. But what's like your average elevation?
Oh, yeah. It's like the 11,000. It peaks at the highest.
The peaks are around 14, and so
I want to say the highest is Handy's Peak at 13 something.
Yeah, so it's up. Yeah. It's up there. Yeah. Okay.
But
So you were humbled, and that's good.
yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying the cycling, the bike riding, and I am humbled at the amount of effort it takes, just if not more effort on the bike as it does running. So it's tough. There's a lot of tech and figuring out tires and wheels and rims and chains and.
Are you gonna run again, or are you sold? Like you're just gonna stick with bikes now?
I'll run again. I still have some unfinished business, both at Hard Rock and Wasatch and the Bear.
Does Hard Rock know this? Does the Bear know this?
Oh, they both know it very well.
They all know. Kristen doesn't know, but
she will.
She knows.
This podcast is public, so it's okay.
But in the meantime, my two brothers have gotten into mountain biking and gravel riding, so it's been a way to connect with them and have some family fun that doesn't involve Sawakaw.
Do you think you can do? I mean, I've never run ultra. Well, I did like a 50K, but I've never run ultras that were like 50 miles or hundreds. I don't know how. I've seen people who are older in their 60s and maybe 70s do it, but I've definitely seen 70s and 80-year-olds run marathons and stuff. But what about bike racing? Are older people bike racing more now?
I see a lot, James. I love your comments on this, but I tend to believe that, like in ultra running, some of the toughest competitors in these events are your 50 and older, definitely 40 and older athletes. So, yeah. I mean, I don't go up and ask ages, but I see some old guys and gals out there, and they're certainly getting after it. And, yeah, so...
I'm always impressed when I see people that I'm like, that person not only can walk, but is running an ultra race at their age or whatever. And it's, whenever I felt bad for myself, and I did it mostly, I was in my 30s when I was doing it. Now I'm in my late 40s. But when I was out there in my 30s and seeing these people, it's such an inspiration to see. It really makes you think, okay, I felt sorry for myself because I didn't train hard enough or something, and these people are crushing me. I also learned that slow and steady does win the race a lot of times, so which is crazy.
Yeah. At Striders, I always said you have 7 years as a competitive marathon or road runner, and then after that, your body starts to break down or revolt, and then you just retire to ultra running. Because the dirty little secret there, it's a lot of hiking, moving fast in the mountains, but it's not running like a marathon. It's just not as hard. But I did learn, I've learned more through cycling than I did with running, that nutrition can definitely help win races, and that's something.
Did you bonk?
I don't know. I don't know if it's because I am older, but I do tend to bonk more. Did tend to bonk more on the bike than I did running, and I don't know why. If it's more of an anaerobic type of thing, just the slow grind sometimes on a long uphill on a bike. But dialing the nutrition. And I wish I would have figured that out sooner. When I was doing all the ultra running. But that's.
Do you have tips? What do you do?
I definitely, in ultra running, I'd always go into it with the thought that, whatever I do the day of the race or while I'm running, what I'm consuming and calories, but I never really paid attention to, my body is really not responding well to, all these 300 calories in an hour, and I got to drink all this, but, what I'm doing lifestyle-wise, eating, tends to do better. So I'm on the bike, and I'm eating better, and I've read that book, and I forget the author, and I might get it backwards. But
sounds like it's going to be a good, solid reference.
Yes,
we'll find it.
But the title, if you Google it, it's feed your gut, protect your liver. And just to sum it up, it's just eat real food, whole food.
Yeah.
I mean, your body can go a long way just on, burning fat, but you don't need to consume all these calories and, crazy science project food.
And you look straight across to our green room snacks, this is because this is what musicians need.
I ate a lot of that kind of stuff on these ultras. You pull up and it was just like, the worst junk food buffet, at Hard Rock. You'd get there and you'd have stuff like, bacon and beer nuts and licorice. And
I remember I did the antelope race once, and does Hard Rock do things where they just have raw like potatoes in
They
salt?
do, and I remember they have a soup that's really like a potato soup that or potato and onion soup that was really good and satisfying and hot in the middle of nowhere. So they do have some wholesome type things there, but I mean, just a lot of Cokes and.
So you probably
M&Ms.
miss the bestseller Rum Will Get You There.
Where'd you read that? What's the name of your source?
Made it up, but it got me there. Yeah. So
It's Brandon's Bible right there.
well, yeah, because you're very health conscious these days, which is good.
Well, and the reason is, as James will attest to in biking, like it's expensive. It's an expensive sport, and you're always just trying to, lighten your frame, and it's easier to lose a few pounds than to go buy, some carbon rims.
So what race are you doing next, or what's on the agenda here?
The next is with my brother Brad. We're going to St. George to ride the True Grit mountain biking race, and then my brother Michael and I are going to do the Wild Horse Gravel race in Dale, Utah, which is out west desert.
And you're going to win. You're not going to just play, right?
Yeah, the Wojos don't play. I mean, I'm going out there to beat my brother Brad, and then I'm going out there to beat my brother Mike.
Okay.
The rest of the lineup is not so important.
Yeah,
That one person.
yeah. Are you the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be 50. I'm gonna be 50.
Like eventually or this year?
No, like in a few weeks.
How am I the old one? I'm the
I
old
don't
one in
know.
the
Are you the
trailer right
oldest?
Because this past December, I just turned.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd live this long. We
We didn't think you did or would.
here
I'm
I am.
surprised as well. Yeah.
Oh,
I think you're going strong. I think what we should do really quick though, Brandon,
Yeah.
for perhaps those that haven't been listening to the show over the last 10 years or however long it's been, is just a quick flashback. And Brandon, maybe you can take us through a little bit of a timeline of our history with this gentleman, Wojo, right here.
Wojo? Yeah. Yeah. Wojo, I was working at Gear 30 and he just walked in.
Do we have a time frame? When was this ish?
Gear 30 opened in 2012.
Okay.
And next to Gear 30, you opened. When did you open Striders at that location?
In 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
So John was there about 10 minutes before he came over and said, "Hi, I'm John. I work at Striders next door." And then he just walked over and wanted to be on a podcast that we were recording one day. I think that's how it goes, right? Like you just came up, we were recording, and he's like, "Hi, what are you doing? What are you doing over there? Like, gonna be on your podcast?"
He says it like that, which is 100% accurate. It's like, man,
And the rest
this
is
Wojo,
history.
this John guy's a jerk. Come on in. Hello, I'm John. I'm going to sit in on the podcast.
And then we started a show. And then because he was great, he's like, "Well, I want to do my own show." And so we're like,
He's like, I've listened to your shows, which are all shit, and I really do want to start my own on this one. But I see that you got some of this gear already, so if you could.
yeah.
Todd's always been the funny one.
Which is fair. 100%. Which is fair. So it was like, okay, let's do that. And so he starts a show. It's called Mr. Goodyear's Neighborhood, and I have the poster, and it comes up in my memories all the time too. Of when we had Bill Allred. You had Bill Allred on your show, which was a big get, and we had a party at the Goal Foundation. And I remember I drank way too many of those whiskeys in beer. I don't know what the hell that was, but I was sloshed during that podcast.
Yeah.
But you had a good run there with Mr. Goodyear's Neighborhood. You interviewed some awesome people.
Yeah, it was fun. Mr. Goodyear's Neighborhood, if you remember, we named it after Miles Morris Goodyear, who was like the first mountain man to establish the area. And so the thought behind it was, and we invited Bill on because I don't know if they still do, but on X96 they had the, know the people in your neighborhood, which is kind of a play off of Mr. Rogers. So I thought we'll just do the show and we'll just kind of interview, prominent people in Ogden and, have them tell their stories. And, my evil plan was just to help it gain some attention for Striders. I didn't want to talk about running or shoes or the whole bit. I just wanted to, be involved in the Ogden community. And I thought, well, this is a good way to do it without, being overtly, come buy some shoes from Striders. I thought I would just,
Well, you're good at evil plans. I mean, clarify the beginnings of like Striders' involvement, your involvement with the Ogden Marathon.
Yeah, so Strider started in Layton, and we started that in 2003, 2004, and my lovely bride, Kristen. It's an interesting story in how that started. So we opened Striders, and I reached out to the Ogden Marathon just to, hey, we're open, and how can we get involved in the marathon? And at the time, the marathon's always been owned by the city, but it was organized by an outside Salt Lake company, and the guy's name I'm failing to remember. But anyway, long story short, the city wasn't completely satisfied. They were thinking bigger for the marathon, and he was just trying to think of a way to pay his bills, right?
This is the short story.
The short story. The long story short, I went to a planning Ogden Marathon meeting, and they said, this is great. We'd love to get a running store involved.
Could make sense.
Yeah. So I volunteered my wife, Kristen, to, start going to the planning meetings. And, if you know my wife, Kristen, it doesn't take long before she's like the race director, and it didn't take long.
Yeah.
And so, she was directing the first versions of the Goal Foundation Ogden Marathon. And, I'm proud to say she took her from, a few hundred runners to a few thousand runners. I mean, she grew up from like 300 runners to 10,000 runners and added the half marathon, and did a lot of great things. And it was her idea to, start the winter racing circuit. And
yeah, the winter racing circuit, which is coming up, is it still, because Striders is gone.
Yeah, Striders is now Fleet Feet.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know what they're calling it. I don't think they're calling it the winter racing circuit. We sold it to the Goal Foundation as the winter racing circuit. They changed it to the winter race circuit. And then, we bought it from...
Big difference,
yeah. But, we bought it from Kurt Black, Mark Jolly. They were both former runners at Weber State, and they had Stride Racing. And, they started it off as the Northern Utah Training Series, Nuts. And then, we bought it from them, and then they went and bought the first timing chip system, and then we contracted with them to time the races, and it was a cumulative race thing, and we put it on the USA Track and Field Circuit, and it was a lot of fun. We did it in the middle of the winter time. We added all the hills in Ogden, and it was fun. It was good times. And
I have another story about John. I went to Snow Basin one time because they were, what was the meeting? Well, I don't know what the meeting was about, but it was like they wanted to do a race up at Snow Basin, and the Snow Basin management at the time was not willing to lease the land or let the land be used by race directors, because the argument was, which is still the case, it's like, okay, well, someone's going to pay $10,000 for a wedding. I don't want to have a race going on up here.
I don't want to see a Porta John,
a Porta John and stuff. And John pipes up and he says something like, I'm just trying to sell shoes. I'm trying to sell shoes. And I want to do this race. And I was like, that man just trying to sell some shoes.
Yeah, we were trying to put together, and I still think it'd be a great course, but we were trying to start a race at Buse Trailhead, run up to Mount Ogden, and then down through Snow Basin, and then down Wheeler, and then up South Skyline to Lewis Peak, and then down to the Divide, and then up to Ben Lomond, and then down at North Fork Park.
You are clearly just making this up as you go right now. It's a lot of places.
It's only 50 miles. We could do an out and back, and it could be...
But do you think, because Snow Basin's growing now and there's the Forest Service issue, do you think something like that will ever happen in Ogden because of the current ownership of land and mountains and
maybe,
stuff?
And I'm not going to lie, and I'll admit it. I mean, the reason I took that job at Snow Basin years ago was just to make some connections there and some goodwill. And so I think it's possible. For sure. I think timing is right because, a $10,000 wedding at Snow Basin back then was expensive. Now it's a bargain. So, I mean, you're still going to have to deal with that. And, that's primarily a lot of their spring business is events and, So, I mean, you time it right, it could happen. So, yeah, it could happen.
Okay.
If anybody wants to put that race on, I will certainly advise. But, they're a lot of work.
I'm not raising my hand. That sounds like a lot of work.
No. I have a Utah safety hat in here. You want to give a little plug?
Because if I remember right, when you first came on pitching your podcast, we sort of restructured, became Bayonet at that time. I think it was part of your 10-year plan is your current job itself.
Sell Striders, get fired, and then go. Yeah.
We're pretty much checking off literally everything.
Yeah, every box. Yep.
And then president of the Utah Safety Council.
Yeah, so this is my weird career. So out of Weber State, I wanted to be a police officer and did the whole academy thing, and then Ogden City Police Department, and realized I'm not going to be a very good cop at all. So
Far too nice.
I think he's a better criminal, to tell you the truth.
these guys are a bunch of
Criminals
rule
probably
followers.
make good cops. Yeah.
So I ended up at iOmega. If you remember iOmega Zip Drives, I was their safety manager. Out of Weber State from 2000.
Oh, it's in your blood.
Yeah, I was there in 1996 to 2003, and then when iOmega started having business problems, they laid me off, and I took my $10,000 severance package and I opened up Strider's with it. Mm-hmm. So the joke in the family is, oh, John, he's like Homer Simpson, the safety guy over there and then I started selling shoes, and it turned into the Al Bundy thing, and
Feels like you're not getting the respect you deserve here.
Yeah. So
I think
anyway,
it's just the right amount of
Okay.
safety to shoes, and then after Striders, I was kind of a bum for a while. I thought it was great. We lived in a van down by the river in Sedona for a minute, and then
for real.
Then I bounced around, and that was really the real reason why Mr. Goodyear's neighborhood really wasn't sustainable. Is I just needed to figure out the next phase of life, and I just couldn't commit to that.
Yep.
But and then I landed at the safety council job, like you. I saw it on Indeed, and I thought, I remember safety. Let's just, let's put in for this and see what happens.
I remember safety.
No one's gonna hire me to be a president of anything, but So I've been there for 4 years now, and we're a chapter of the National Safety Council. We do a lot of traffic schools, so if you get a specific type of citation from a UHP officer, you'll come see John.
I do have a small question. What did a safety officer for Zip Drives consist of? What did you do for that?
Yes.
Well,
Because I'm trying to think, because in a box somewhere, I still have one of those Zip Drives, right? So I can understand the sheer safety of just not getting hurt on that beast of a hard drive. And the discs themselves were this big.
Like, we used to manufacture those drives in Roy. So there were several hundred employees that would show up every day, and they would snap these things together or glue them together. And we had an R&D lab and with lasers and, just 1,000 different, in a warehouse and forklifts and just, thousands of ways to get hurt and killed. And so, as iOmega grew from the Bernoulli drives to Zip Drives, it went from a $300 million a year company to a $2 billion in literally
it's a big company.
Months. Yeah. So they needed a safety person, and I was being mentored as the safety manager at Clearfield Job Corps Center. That still exists.
What is it about you think that you respond so well to that career path, like to doing that particular? I mean, what do you think it is? Because we know you pretty well, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Well, I mean, I take pride in, I like helping people. It makes me feel better about myself. And, I like helping people and cats. I don't know what it is, but people tend to, feel they trust me.
The people route pays better than the cat route, I think it does.
People trust me and cats trust me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. And I'm really not, a super fan of either one of them, but, they tend to migrate toward me and just kind of purr and paw and,
It's got to be an attention to detail gig too, right? Like
definitely. For sure. Yeah. I still remember, I still see people that I sold shoes to, 15 years ago, and I still remember their size and the shoe it was, and I'll ask them, it's like, hey, you still running in the launch from Brooks? It's, the 9th version now. How's that going? And yeah. I don't remember their names sometimes, but I remember the shoe size and what shoe.
But you remember a foot.
I remember a foot.
Never forget a foot.
Did you ever fix those bunions or?
Somebody's talking to you. They're like, my eyes are up here, John. My eyes are up here. You're just looking straight down at their feet the whole time.
Yeah.
Bring it full circle, because now we got a podcast at the Safety Commission.
Yeah. So the Utah Safety Council,
Council.
Yeah, council. We do a lot of traffic and first aid, CPR, and OSHA and MSHA and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that we needed to do is just kind of solidify the community. And I thought, I wish we could do the same thing we did at Striders, because the podcast with Striders and Ogden really worked in getting us out there and establishing the community. And I know we had some history with the marathon. We did some things in Ogden ahead of that. But the podcast, even though we really weren't even talking about shoes and running and training and nutrition, we were just talking about the people in Ogden. It really helped. So I thought, I don't know, let's try it with the Utah Safety Council. So there's the Utah Labor Commission. They have this workplace safety grant program where you can submit a grant like, hey, I want money for this project. So I told the people around me, my board, that, hey, I'm going to submit a grant to the Utah Labor Commission to have them fund the podcast. You know, they don't pay for computer stuff or electronic equipment, but I think it could go a long way in telling the safety story and help save lives. You know, just by telling the stories of people in safety that don't really get any attention, right? And so I submitted this grant on a whim, and they said yes a year ago. And so Brandon, I looped him in right away, and he helped us acquire all the equipment because I didn't know what it was. And so he helped, this is your shopping list of things you need to get. And then, in the grant I wrote, okay, we're going to need to, have some sort of expertise, podcast engineer. And so that's how we, looped in the Banyan Collective. Is I really just wanted to flip a switch. I didn't want to try to reinvent stuff. So what I told them is, there's people and businesses like the Banyan Collective out there that can you just turn them on and we can
What
go.
did the Safety Council do with all of those years worth of training and safety VHS tapes? Because I imagine those were probably used right before the podcast was started.
We still rent them out daily. I am not kidding. I am not kidding. In fact, if you go to the Kennecott copper mine,
I have no doubt about it.
If you're a visitor, if you're going to work there, you have to go through this, 24-hour class to get onto the mine. But if you're a visitor, just to take the bus to the lookout area, you got to sit in this room. You have to push in the VCR tape.
That is so funny.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
Yes. We have and that's another Labor Commission grant. Every year we buy more DVDs and we still have several working VHS
VHS to
players.
podcast.
Yeah.
It just skipped everything between.
Yeah. You'd be surprised, a lot of, construction companies that, do their safety briefings in the middle of nowhere. They just pop in a VHS tape in the back of the truck or a DVD because they don't have YouTube access.
Yeah.
So they play a tangible media and so we still have them. You joke, but yeah.
Just barely joking. I think there's always the truth behind the joke.
No, for sure. John, welcome back, man. It's good to have you on a microphone, not as part of the Safety Council, but with us. So thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Todd, I have an update from the Ogden Avalanche. For this week. So let me just go ahead and I'll switch the camera here, I think, and then I'll go ahead.
Is this Corey's sweet voice?
Okay, sweet. We're here with Corey from Ogden Avalanche for this week's Ogden Avalanche update. Corey, we've got a lot of heavy snow, rain. What's this doing? How's this impacting our terrain, our backcountry snow?
Yeah, man, it's been a heavy week, literally and figuratively. Lots of snow removal here in the valley. This last storm that we got last night, Ben Lomond actually received 21 inches of snow, I believe, with almost 4 inches of water, which is a lot of water. And then going into last week, we had another big thunk too with around the same amount of water, almost 4 inches of water. So good for the reservoirs and actually pretty good for the snowpack long term, but short term, it's a lot of weight to overload a semi-weak snowpack. We did see the walls sort of come off on last Friday with our last big wet storm. It rained in the bottom of the Ogden Valley, like in Eden it was raining, but once you came out of the Ogden Valley at all, it had started snowing. But yeah, we saw a lot of avalanche activity on that at Snow Basin, at Powder Mountain, as well as the North Fork area, especially. I'm going to hit the slides here. We got some photos of them. So this is Chili Peak slabs. They both came out 0G, and the one to the left ran full path naturally on Friday, I believe, during the heavy wet storm. And then this one here on Rodeo, I believe it would have been Saturday afternoon sometime it was triggered because it's a much fresher crown. with no precip on it. And then today, we haven't really gotten any viz to go up and see what kind of avalanche activity we might have had. Bailey Cabin also went naturally, and last week, the Ben Lomond, like pretty much most of the cirque was remotely triggered by someone skiing down the ridge from the summit. So still, I wouldn't say touchy, but the likelihood of triggering a large persistent slab avalanche is there. I wouldn't say it's likely, but I wouldn't say it's unlikely either. It's somewhere in the middle. And then throw on top the storm slab, wind slab avalanche problems that we're going to continue to have with more snow. I mean, we're supposed to get walloped again tonight with another 15 inches of snow or so. So yeah, just we're giving the snowpack a good thwack. And the skiing and riding's been great, though, all time, really. I mean, we're almost at 80-inch base at Ben Lomond, which is pretty cool. So here's our 91 inches on the ground at Ben Lomond on January 10th. That's pretty good for us. So, and then almost 20 inches of water. Is that what that says? Gotta get closer. Yeah, 20 inches of water, which is pretty cool. So good riding conditions out there. Yeah. And then in other news, Brandon, guess what's on Thursday?
Well, I feel like we're doing a B Street series starts on Thursday. So I'll be there with the live stream. If you can't make it down to B Street, we'll live stream on hopefully the Facebook and YouTube for Ogden Avalanche.
Yep.
Who's our first presenter?
It's going to be Jim Steenberg, the professor of POW, Brandon.
Professor of POW. I don't know how you swung it. You know, we're lucky. We got him.
Yeah, I finally wrangled him in. So Jim Steenberg, he literally wrote the book on the weather in the Wasatch, and he also writes a blog called Wasatch Weather Weenies. He's known around the world for his mountain weather expertise. Thank you. It's like symposium. Yeah. I don't know. Make up a word.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this podcast and you tuned in because maybe you like the arts guest or something and you don't know really what we're talking about or what Ogden Avalanche is, we do have a website, ogdenavalanche.org, and also you can follow us on the Instagram, Ogden Avalanche, at Ogden Avalanche, I think it's, or Ogden Abbey, I think.
It's Ogden Avalanche, at Ogden Avalanche, and same with Facebook. And then, yeah, but avalanche danger is going to be on the rise. It was high today, and I bet it'll be high going into the weekend. I don't think we'll tip the scales into extreme, but I could see us sitting at avalanche danger being high through Friday. So, you know, make good decisions when you're out there with the rat race too, especially at Snow Basin with the canyons probably closing again, and sort of having some scarcity for the POW up at Basin with a lot of folks coming north from the counties to the south. So
be nice, make good choices.
Be nice and make good choices. Yeah, last weekend Snow Basin didn't sell out, but ran out of parking. So
it's wild.
I know, it's crazy. Who would have ever thought that day would come? But
and go early.
Man. Yeah, get there early. And yeah, if you decide to enjoy the backcountry here in the Ogden Mountains, yeah, just be respectful of the current avalanche danger with the amount of snow and water we've gotten. So, yeah, that's all I got for today, Brando.
Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it. We'll see you on Thursday. And for those who can't tune in, we'll catch the next update next week.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right.
Thank you, Corey.
Thanks, Corey. That was fantastic.
He's so good at this.
Yeah. What do you got? Anything?
I think we should keep him around. I did want to mention one thing, and this was reminded this morning at our Arts Advisory Committee meeting, which, by the way, I completely breezed through. I was like 5 minutes late. I'm never late on those things. I felt bad about that. Anyway, Hyperallergic, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It is a well-known online publication. It's a leading voice in contemporary perspectives on art, culture, and more. They combine around-the-clock art world news coverage with insightful commentary, which we need more insightful commentary.
Yeah.
I'm just put that on notes. We need to provide more insightful commentary. Okay. Anyway, they singled out 8 Utah art spaces that you may not know about. And a couple of Ogden spaces made that list. I thought I'd go ahead and list those for you really quick. 801 Salon, that's a Salt Lake group. Bazaar, which is another space that the Utah Arts Alliance does down in Salt Lake City. We're getting into the Ogden stuff. Gallery 25 made the list.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Monarch. And it was just the Monarch in general, which was kind of nice on this one. So they singled out and talked about the Ogden Contemporary Art Space.
They must not know who we are yet.
You mean us? Yep. Well, the Monarch, that was the overall.
Okay.
Yeah, we're part of that list. And then the last art space that they mentioned in this was a Gallery Moab, obviously down in Moab. So anyway, a nice little applause for these Ogden art spaces, as well as these fantastic Salt Lake spaces as well, making national lists.
I like it. Thank you so much, guests. We appreciate having you on, James and John, JJ.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I get it. I get that.
EDs,
Yeah, all right.
JJ ED. Yeah.
JJED.
Yeah, we appreciate you having you on, learning more about what you do, and good luck in this upcoming year. Thank you to Banyan One for powering today's episode of the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. You can listen and subscribe to the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show on YouTube, on our channel. You can look for us on Facebook or Instagram, also Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're on all the podcast apps. And then we have a website, thebanyancollective.com. You can find us there as well. Podbean app. So you can DM us if you want to be on the show. And I have had next week's arts guest is from someone who'd reached out via Instagram to say, hey, can I be on your show? And it's awesome. She, yes, female tattooer, wants to come talk about running a tattoo shop as a female, and it's in a male dominated world. So it's pretty cool. It's Luna. She'll be our arts guest for next week. So yeah, DM us on Instagram at Ogden Adventure. This week's outdoor jukebox, which we will leave you with, is a little something again from Future Ex-Boyfriend. Why? Because I like them, and two, because they're good.
I think you got a crush on Future.
I kind of do. Yeah. So let me get this back up. This is Hazy, as recorded during band sessions. So we'll catch you on the next Ogden Arts and Adventure Show.
Faded in the daylight, goddamn, something just don't feel right.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Serotonin half price, baby man, but don't be so uptight. You got me feeling lazy, cartoons on the daily, smoking cheese to feel right. Baby, I'm just crazy, sticky, gooey, hazy, baby, it don't phase me. Smoking just to waste my time, making mine on Stacy. I've been feeling lazy. I've been
Good. Future ex-boyfriend.
Thank you
Band
very
sessions.
much.